Hi everyone, my name is Anne Aide. Thank you so much for your comments and your contributions on my posts regarding recruiters who keep candidates waiting. And I am doing this video as a way to wrap things up on that conversation. I will be walking you through a couple of things I would do in similar circumstances. So when I am planning recruitment and planning to invite candidates for an interview, the first thing I would do is space out the interviews. So typically my interviews may take us about 40 to 45 minutes for each interview, and what I would then do is space out the interviews by an hour or an hour and a half. And the reason I do this is to ensure that I give enough time to go through each interview, as well as the follow-up conversations that will happen within the interview panel after each interview. And so it's a way to kind of have a breather after each interview before you move on to the next one. So the first thing is space out the interviews to give time, because some interviews would run longer than expected, and so you want to be able to catch your breath, finish each interviews without necessarily rushing through it. Okay. The next thing I would do is reach out to the interview panel. So the hiring manager, as well as any other members of the interview panel who will be sitting in on interviews that day, I would reach out to them, schedule the interviews, ensure that it's blocked in their calendars. And the reason for this is that life gets busy. They might have other tasks, they might have other things that they need to get to. And if these interviews are not blocked in their calendar, they would schedule other things over it, and it might start to cause some kind of challenge trying to manage the activities that they have that day. And so reach out to them and schedule those interviews, block their calendars, create reminders, remind them. Verbal reminders even would work in these instances, as well as tell them the need to prioritize the interviews, because a lot of times candidates only see the recruiters and that's the only person to blame. But sometimes it's not the recruiter's fault. It could be the hiring manager or someone else who's sitting on that interview panel has gotten busy and is not able to attend to the interviews. So very important, block their calendars and remind them about the interviews. And then the last thing I would do in a situation where the first and second things fail, because things happen, right? There might be some emergency, some interviews might run a lot longer than expected, or something has come up and there's a reason why the interview is going to be late. In that instance, show empathy. So a candidate is meant to come in for a 9 o'clock interview. Maybe they're there at 8:45, or I don't know. If you already know in advance that the interview is not going to start on schedule, you need to walk up to them, introduce yourself, and let them know that the interview is going to take another 5 to 10 minutes before we get started. Something's come up and all of that. But let them know. If you know the interview is going to run a whole lot longer than that, maybe the wait time is going to last a whole lot longer than that, maybe an hour, 2 hours, let them know as well. And offer to reschedule. So offer to reschedule. The interview is you're going to have to wait for another two hours. Our boss is out. We don't know when he's going to be back and all of that. Offer to reschedule the interview so they can get some time back if they need to. And if they're fine to wait, then go a step further. Offer them a drink, offer them coffee, offer them a snack. Even water would go a long way in calming them down and letting them know that they're important. Okay. I think there's nothing more frustrating than for a candidate than sitting there for hours on end without even knowing what's going on. So it's very important that if their wait time is going to be longer than expected, or if there's going to be any wait time, you should let them know so that they can prepare for it or make other arrangement for it. Okay. All right then. Thank you so much once again. I really appreciate the comments. I really appreciate the likes and shares. And look out for my other posts, because there will be more posts coming up in the coming weeks. Look out for the posts, like them, share them, comment on them, contribute, and let's keep the conversations going. All right then. Thank you very much and have a lovely day.